Welcome to Uncopyable Women in Business. Did you know that exhaustion, brain fog, and weight gain are often biology and have nothing to do with willpower? My guest is Dr. Alicia Newsome, functional medicine physician, 3-time best-selling author, and hormone expert who helps high-performing women figure out why they feel off even when their doctor says everything looks fine. Dr. Alicia, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm excited about our conversation about your story and what you do, and also what we can offer the listeners today. And you mentioned having more energy, higher performance, and less stress. And you're going to share some specifics on those. And I know everybody listening, including me, wants to know more about those things.
Yeah.
Dr. Alicia, why don't you give us a little bit of a background on who you are and where you got to where you are now?
Yeah. So I'm Dr. Alicia Newsome, and I am a functional medicine doctor. And a lot of times people ask, okay, what's functional medicine? So think about it like this. If you have a headache, you could take some Tylenol, you could take some Advil, and most likely your headache would go away. But you didn't have that headache because you had a Tylenol deficiency. It's because there's something else going on inside the body. So in functional medicine, what we do is we look at the whole body to figure out what's going on and get to the root cause of those issues. So I have a business, Body Wellness Institute. It's myself and some other physicians and coaches, and we work with women struggling with hormonal imbalances. So think low energy, trouble losing weight, digestion issues. We help get to the root cause of what's going on with you specifically, and then resolve those issues all without drugs or surgery.
Those are all hot topics with listeners. And as I said, with me being in that age group. And I really am curious and want to know more about, instead of having a Band-Aid approach, like you said, Tylenol, Advil, how to get the root of all of these issues and change them from the inside out. So what's your philosophy and how do we start?
Yes. So I have a hormone reset framework that I walk all of my clients through. So very systemized, looking at like what's going on with the different systems in the body. And it begins with assessing, right? So first we have to assess what's going on in your life, what's going on with you personally, your stress levels, all of that, to really understand what's going on. And then I'm a big advocate of test, don't guess. Okay. There's a lot of advanced lab testing that goes beyond what you would just get during your well woman visit that really allows us to see what's going on in your body all the way down to a cellular level and all the way down to a molecular level. So we're able to see how all these systems interact in your body. And then we put together very specific protocols that will work specifically for you and your body.
Now, are these protocols, describe what they are. Are they action-oriented? Are
protocol
they
sounds really big, right?
The word protocol.
It sounds big and hard. No, it is something that is specific to each individual woman. And it includes lifestyle things, so stress modification techniques, but things that give you the biggest bang for your buck, because managing stress doesn't always, that sounds like, who wants to do that, right? So it's really specific to you and what's going on. And a lot of times they're just things that take a few minutes a day. So stress, nutrition as well. There's so much information out there about what to eat, what not to eat, what to avoid. So very specific on what you need to do with your nutrition as well as exercise, and then also supplementation. So I'm a bit of a supplement snob. There's a lot of things on the market when it comes to supplements. And one reason is supplements are not anything that's regulated by the FDA. I don't want them to get involved, right? But it does allow for just a lot of things to be out on the market. One thing would be, for instance, window dressing. And window dressing is when you pick up a supplement and you're like, oh, this has calcium in it. Calcium's good for me. Or this has ashwagandha in it. Like, I heard that's good for me. and there's just pixie dust amounts in it. So meaning like it's a little bit enough to put it on the label, but not enough to really make an impact inside of your body. So when we do the right types of assessments and testing on you, we know exactly what kind of supplements you need and the dosage as well too. So really important aspect of protocols. I love supplements, but I just want to make sure you're getting the right amount and it's actually useful as well too.
I have a question about, is this in person or can you do this virtually? But I'm thinking, of course, I've heard this too, that you have to be really careful about what you choose as a supplement because of the ingredients. But I also remember this story. I was a teenager and I have some circulation issues even back then, the Raynaud's syndrome, I think, is that how you say it?
Yeah.
It's where your extremities, like my fingers, would go absolutely white because something happens and your blood is being sucked into your organs.
Oh.
So I heard niacin was good for this. So I took some straight niacin off from the health food store, and I had the worst niacin flush.
Yeah.
My body was on fire. So yes, even if it is a good supplement, you have to know how to use it, right?
Yeah, that niacin flush, it can be scary too because it's like your whole body. And then did you turn red too when it happened at all?
Yeah. And so it was very uncomfortable. Yeah, and a little scary. Don't do that.
Be careful, supplement wisely. Yeah.
When you do talk supplements, then is that something you have to do in person with someone?
Oh, so my practice is completely virtual. So I work with women all over the country, all over the world, all the way into the UK. We're able to send the lab test that you need directly to your home. You complete everything in the privacy of your home. If we need to draw blood, we send a phlebotomist to your house. You're able to do everything. It gets shipped back to the lab, and then I get the results, and we meet and go over them and virtually right here on Zoom.
That's awesome.
Yes.
I didn't realize that, but that makes sense. And I have to say, I love the word phlebotomist, which means someone who draws blood. And I've always thought that's just funny, that what a fancy name, but well-deserved. Phlebotomy, I'm sure, not to be confused with lobotomy.
Yes, we want to keep the brain.
Gonna keep the brain. So you do this assessment, and then how do you work with advising the patient? Do you get on Zoom or on the phone, or what are the next steps then with that?
Yes, so we work with everyone one-on-one, and we have different options based on how people are with their lifestyle. So we have an asynchronous option, which basically means that you're dropped into a portal with me. And then whenever you have a question that pops up, you just ask me the question and I answer back. Not immediately, of course, but during my work hours. But I will send you a video chat, or you can send me like a text message or an audio. We do it like that. That's for the busy woman who's like, I don't need another meeting on my calendar, but I still want the support. And then we also have the option where you can meet on Zoom. So we just literally have scheduled time on the calendar where we meet on Zoom. And then we also have health coaches that meet with you in between for those that want more of accountability with the implementation in between sessions where we're adjusting your protocol.
The miracles of modern technology,
yes.
Right? That presents whole new opportunities for us besides the supplements, and we'll put links in the show notes, and so people will know how to connect with you on that. I know you have a whole framework. So let's talk about what else is involved. We were talking before we recorded, and I shared that for me, physical health is so important for my functionality, including my mental health. I can't do it. So exercise is really important to me. Eating right as best I can, because what we're getting, we don't always know. So how do those fit into your framework and how you help people?
A lot of times when it comes to exercise, it's about getting movement in and almost like movement snacks throughout the day versus like, okay, I went to the gym and I worked out for 30 minutes, or I went and did that class for 60 minutes. You really want to get in the habit of setting a timer, especially if you sit behind your desk all day. Once an hour, me too. Once an hour, get up and take 5 minutes and walk around. that can be very impactful. Doing 10 squats every hour is incredibly impactful on your insulin, which is your fat storing hormone that we don't want to just have high levels of all day long. And then also eating after meals. That is one thing that is incredibly helpful if you just go for a walk, even in your kitchen. My dad is 83 years old, and I was with him last week. And after he ate, I was like, okay, let's walk. So we just walked around the house I set the timer for 4 minutes, did that. And then we did like 10 squats up and down after that. That really helps one with digestion, with you being able to digest your food. And then also it helps with insulin. So what happens is when you eat and we have foods that have carbohydrates, I'm not a big person on like big hard restriction. It's just not sustainable long term. So when you eat, your glucose goes up and then insulin's got to come out and it's got to lower it. And insulin, if glucose just keeps going up, insulin's got to keep coming out and lowering it. And when people become diabetic, it's because they became insulin resistant. So the same amount of glucose goes into the blood, but now you're needing a whole lot of glucose in order to bring, or a whole lot of insulin in order to bring those levels down, right? It gets harder and harder and harder. So we don't want that because we don't want people to become diabetic and need to take insulin. Also, insulin is a fat storing hormone. So as long as insulin's up doing its job at storing fat, which I know most women, we're not into storing fat, right? We want to release fat. So when we do these small movement snacks throughout the day and right after we eat, what it does is it opens up those insulin receptors in our legs, which have the most in there, and it really allows to pull that glucose out of the blood into the muscles there. So it's really helpful for blood sugar regulation with that type of movement.
That's a really helpful explanation because, of course, most people know about insulin, glucose, but not all those relationships. Exercise snack. That's an easy term to remember, easy to do. One of those easy to do, easy not to do. And I like that. Just 5 or 6 squats instead of, we say stand every hour. Well, how much better to squat? I didn't think about the fact that your legs would be so important, but that makes sense. You know, your legs and your glutes, we'll call it, are, such a big part of our body mass. So that's very helpful. And I like it also. I do go to the gym and I'm on a workout program, but I do something 3 times a week for 30 minutes versus doing movement all day long. I can see why the impact would be so much higher to do it consistently.
Get the snacks in. And squats is also a weight bearing activity too. So it helps with muscle and especially muscle retention as we get older too. We really want to be able to hang on to our muscle. It's so important for mobility and longevity. I call muscle the longevity organ.
So I have to tell you something funny. I worked with a gal one time and she was on this real crash diet. And they said you cannot exercise at all for the first week. Is that the most ridiculous thing? Because obviously, if you're not exercising, then you're losing muscle, which means you're losing weight, and the scale's showing you that, and you're thinking, oh, yay, me.
Yes, and it must have been really intense calorie restriction. It was what I'm assuming, because they were thinking, you don't have enough energy really to exercise, because that's what food is. Calories are energy that our body eats.
That's true. Not enough energy. I just thought, ooh, what a way to cheat the system and make it look like you're losing a lot more weight than you really are. And I assume, bone health is a big thing for women our age. And not to brag, but I did get a bone scan a couple of years ago, and I think a lot of it's genetics, but I've always been very active and my bones are very strong. So I'm blessed because a lot of my friends are osteopenia and, working toward osteoporosis. So things like squats and weight bearing, those are good for the bones too, right?
Yes, squats, weight bearing, also doing things like if you have like a small personal trampoline, like jumping on those, that can be helpful as well. And one cool thing, I haven't been able to find one near me since I've moved to where I live now, but kickboxing and things like that can be very helpful for the joints and the bones as well too, and fun.
Really? I don't know if I'll
Yes.
be in kickboxing. I remember I did have a trampoline once, a personal sized trampoline. And it was kind of funny because it was after my daughter was born. And there were two problems with that. And one is that, of course, if I'm on the trampoline, she's crawling toward me. And the other thing was that I had given birth and certain muscles were not in very
Oh,
tone.
yes, yes, yes. That pelvic floor is very important. Yes.
It
Especially when
is.
it comes to the trampoline.
Yeah. So if it works for you, and obviously pelvic floor is something you should be working on anyway, which I don't know exactly what those exercises, but a lot of those core exercises, right, are also good. Probably squats.
Yeah, with the pelvic floor, and I'm not a pelvic floor expert, but with the pelvic floor, Kegels is a big one, but then also a lot of breathing exercises that really get into your deep transverse abdominal muscles. Those are really important as well in the pelvic floor cavity.
You're saying deep breathing?
Yeah, like deep breathing. Like when you breathe out, you should really suck in from like the lower abdominal area. And that should like
Okay.
pull up almost like a zipper going up from your belly button up into like right below your breast, right there
Hmm.
when you're breathing out. And a lot of women, myself included, are not breathing out enough. Like we breathe in, but we're not giving a full exhale and then engaging those lower muscles there.
Well, I don't know if you can tell from my face, but I was doing that. And it does feel very different.
Yeah.
And I want to ask you more about the stress because I'm assuming breathing helps with that too. So often when I'm stressed or uptight, I notice that I'm not breathing.
Yes.
I mean, I shouldn't say not at all, or else I'd keel over, but very shallow breathing is really a stress response, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Why don't you talk about that a little bit? I want to take a quick break to tell you about something I've created just for you. It's my list of 25 uncopyable action steps you can take to separate yourself from the competition starting right now. Grab your list at beuncopyable.com/action-steps. Now, back to the show.
Yes. So, one thing that can help pull you out of that stress response. And when we say stress response, we're talking about like that fight or flight, right? The body's either in like there's two different nervous systems. There's fight or flight. So think about a bear coming after you. You're going to fight or you're going to run away. You're going to get yourself to safety. And then after the danger is away, the bear is gone, your body moves into what's called a parasympathetic state. That's rest, that's digest, that's where hormones are built for baby making, all of that. Like think about if a bear was running after you, the last thing your body would think is now's a good time to make a baby, right? Nope, not happening. And I know, a lot of us are past baby making age, right? But we still need those hormones. Very important. But we access the building blocks and the materials to be able to do that when we're in our parasympathetic state, that rest and that digest. So none of us have a bear running after us right now, but we still have work, we still have finances, and then there's also physiological stressors like toxins. Biotoxins are things like mold, fungus, parasites, bacteria, viruses. Those are living things that live inside of our body and can pull on all of our nutrients and disrupt our gut microbiome. Those are stressors as well that the body interprets as a physiological load. External toxins, things in the environment, the air that we're breathing, things that are on our food, medications, all of those are stressors. And then nutrients, not having enough of those, your proteins, good fats, your vitamins, minerals, amino acids, antioxidants, not having that is stressful on the body. So back to your question, but I wanted to give a good view of there's lots of things that stress us out. A lot of times we just think about mental, emotional stress, and the bear is gone, right? None of us have a bear running after us, but a lot of times we're stuck in this or the sympathetic state, fight or flight, even when, there's no bear, right? But our body feels stressed for various reasons. One thing that can help bring you out of that and into parasympathetic state is what's called box breathing. And what you do is you breathe in for 4 counts, and then you hold it. You want to do it together? We can do it
Sure,
together.
let's do it.
Okay. All right. So take a deep breath in, hold, and then you're going to hold for 4 counts, release, and then you're going to hold. Deep breath in, hold, release, hold, and then breathe normally. I lost where I was at.
I think we did 2 boxes.
We did do 2 boxes. Normally I do it with you.
That's all right. And like a lot of the things I teach as well, some of the things we know what to do, but we don't do them. So I do know what box breathing is.
Yeah.
And on the rare occasion that I remember to do it, even just doing that now, you do feel just kind of a little tingle or something lets down in your body. So it's such a good reminder that we've been given this gift of just our breath and that we should use it. It. And thanks for taking us through that too.
Yes, you're welcome.
Box breathing.
Yep.
So that's a big stress reliever. You've mentioned nutrition. And so, of course, I know supplements, you're into supplements, and I'm sure they're very helpful, the right ones. But what about just our nutrition? Because I know that I say I eat healthy, and I do eat a lot of healthy things, but I also eat a lot of unhealthy things. And I also find that I get distracted. This didn't used to happen when I was younger, and literally forget to eat. And I know that's really bad. So why don't you talk about that?
That is one of the biggest things with the women that I work with. Typically, I'll take women through a 10-week weight loss program for the ones that are wanting to lose weight. And I'm having them eat more.
And you said that softly, but I want to really emphasize that you sometimes are eating more. And I told you, I'm into fitness, and to some extent, I used to have a blog called Fairly Fit Female. And some of the people who are overweight, they don't eat very much at all. I eat more. And they say, well, how come you're thin and you're eating more? So why is that starving ourselves doesn't work?
Well, what happens is, let's say that you're used to you just grab some coffee for breakfast or something small, and then you don't really eat again through dinner. You're just working throughout the day. You're not eating, and you get to the end of the day, you're like, oh yeah, let me eat. Right. So for some people, they may eat a whole lot at that time, or may just really almost binge eat during that time, or depending on where they went to go eat, they may go eat 3,500 calories at that one time. But that's not always the case. Sometimes it's you're just still eating something for dinner. And what happens is you reset the rate at which your metabolism works, right? So then your body gets used to she only gives me 1,000 calories. So that's what I reset at. And same thing with extreme dieting, like the person that you brought up before, any kind of extreme dieting that's bringing you down to 1,200 calories a day. And then you're staying on this for months at a time. You're losing weight, but the body's very smart. It's going to adapt. So then it says, all right, well, now we know how to work at 1,200 calories. And then you resume and you go back to where you were at, and you're eating 2,000 calories a day. And then you put all the weight back on plus some, because the metabolism isn't moving at that same rate of being able to burn those types of calories there. The other thing is the type and quality of food too. So we really want to focus on fiber and protein. Those are very, very important. You want to get 25 to 30 grams of protein or fiber in. And then for protein, that can vary from woman to woman. I like to give the advice of 1 gram of protein per your ideal body weight.
For each pound then?
For each pound.
Okay.
Yes. And if you're someone where you're well, I don't even want to be under 150, or my goal weight's 160, don't eat that much protein. 120 grams to 130 grams is good for most women. That is about 35 grams per meal with some snacks in between. there. So protein is really good to focus on, and then also getting your fiber in, and then good fats. So good fats like avocado, coconut oil, olive oil. And with the olive oil, you've got to be careful. You don't want to just drizzle all over because olive oil's got such a good reputation. Now some people start cooking with it and now they're frying with it and they're making it inflammatory. So it takes all the good benefits away and now it's creating inflammation in the body. So you don't want to fry with coconut oil. I mean, with
Olive oil.
with olive oil. And also for every tablespoon of olive oil, that's about 100 calories, right? So if you're just kind of like drizzling, holding the bottle upside down, and now you've got like eight tablespoons of olive oil on your veggies or your salad. You've just taken that salad and you've added a lot of calories to it too. So you got to still be careful with the good fats.
Okay, so that's very good advice. And you're right. Just because it's a good fat, even avocados and things like that have a lot of calories. Before we go, because I do want to talk a little bit about the business side. Of course, all of what we're talking about is critical. If you don't have your health, you don't have anything. And as you get older, you realize how true that is. But how did you start? For women listening, people listening, you took a passion of yours and you turned it into a business and you created a framework. What advice would you give your younger self or listeners into how to do that?
I think one thing is always just being authentically you. So for me, my business in functional medicine really began with my own story of just being a young single mom. I had little ones in diapers and I was exhausted all the time. I'd head over to a friend's house on the weekends and I'd sit down on the couch and I'd fall asleep. They're like, okay, give her pillow, give her a blanket. We've got the kids. And I was exhausted all the time. I had a bunch of different health issues going on. I was kind of pushing through. At that time, I had a brick and mortar. I was working. I had neck pain and back pain, just different things going on in my body that I was kind of ignoring. And I ended up meeting a functional medicine doctor that ran some advanced lab testing on me and really helped me get to the root of what was going on. And ever since then, I have tons of energy all day long. My mental focus, energy, like all of it's there. And it makes a huge impact on how I show up as a mother, as someone who at the end of the day, I still have energy. I'm present with my kids. I'm able to play with them. I had another baby in my 40s and, he has a totally different mom, right? But just having the energy that I need to build my business, to be able to sit down and really be able to work and, have my creativity, my peace of mind, all of those different types of things. So for me, it really came from my own journey in life, struggling with health issues. And I've kind of done it a couple times. Health is definitely a journey, but each time it's really allowed me to really understand what the women that I work with, what they're dealing with, because I have personally been there. It's not that I'm just coming from like, I'm a doctor, I learned this in school, that kind of place, right? Like, no, I'm a doctor and I've experienced this and I've gone through this and I know what it's like to not feel like myself and not have the energy that I need and to be able to overcome that.
It affects your whole entire life for sure.
Yes.
I've really enjoyed this discussion. The box breathing, as I mentioned, I felt different even just doing that with you. Maybe because we did it twice. But I love doing squats instead of just standing. And maybe you could do, I don't know, maybe different kind of squat sometimes too. Because I actually just started a workout program and there's like the Romanian deadlift and different things, but they're all like core and lower body exercises. Also the protein. I mean, that does seem like a lot of protein and you have to be mindful to get it. So that's something you have to pay attention to. I have one question before I talk about your book, and that is, what do you think of protein bars? Because it's so easy to eat a protein bar and there goes 20 grams of protein and all kinds of processed food. So what's your take on that?
Yeah, I'm really picky with protein bars because a lot of times they'll put a bunch of icky ingredients in them and preservatives and sweeteners that aren't good for the brain, actually that are neurotoxins or There's a lot in a
Yeah,
lot of
so
them.
I'm sure you can't mention a brand that you like, or maybe you can, but is there
Yeah.
any particular ingredient or yeah, can you make a recommendation
I
on that?
I love there's one called Prima, Prima, and I buy them like in bulk when they have the sales, but they're only like 5 ingredients. And it's
Okay.
like tallow, it's whey protein. Whey doesn't sit well with everyone, so be mindful of that. And then it's like cacao and a couple other ingredients like sea salt. I like those if they're very natural tasting, but that's the
Not
thing
super sweet
too.
then.
Yeah, they're not super sweet. My 3-year-old loves them. He gobbles them down, but they're very nutritious. And I also like Equip. Equip is more it's a powdered one though that you can throw into a shake. It's just beef protein isolate there. So if you have any issues with whey. And then Truvani, that's the brand too. That one's a very clean protein mix as well too, but it's good to just get your protein from actual food as well, but I do know that it can be difficult. The great thing about protein is it allows your body to produce its own GLP-1s, which are very popular right now.
We know all about what that means. Ozempic, in case you don't
Yes.
know, in case you have been away from the planet for a year.
Yes. Yes. But it allows your body to produce its own. So protein will have you feel very full as well too. Like if you start my biggest thing. So let's say you can't get all this protein and you're like, "Doc, I can't do this." Start the day with a savory breakfast. Okay? So no dessert for breakfast, okay? That means no pancakes, French toast,
No
muffins.
sugar pops.
Yes, that's dessert, okay? Save that for the afternoon, okay? But you want to start the day with a savory breakfast. So think protein and good fats in there, and then some complex carbs as well too. That can be very helpful to stabilize your blood sugar first thing in the morning so you're not on this roller coaster all day long with your energy and midday crashes and all of that. It really sets the stage for a good day.
I like that. A savory breakfast. I'm actually a fan of that. I
Yes.
just can't do sugar in the morning. I get the shakes. And even when
Yeah.
my daughter was growing up, I'd make things like either bacon or soup or something.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, good stuff. As we leave, why don't you just mention your book?
Mhm.
And it's coming out a little bit later than you thought, and now I can't see. I know it's about
In
rest.
the
So
fall.
tell us about the book and then where people can connect with you.
Yes. So the name of the book is Worthy of Rest. And it's for the woman who's tired of being the strong one. We live in this culture and world that literally worships exhaustion. So the book has my frameworks in it that I go through with women, but it also talks about that identity piece of like what kind of causes us to feel the need to like always stay on and always produce and always go and always be the one that says yes, even when we want to say no sometimes. So the book goes into all of that. Worthy of Rest, it will be out this fall. You can also find me by going to my website, which is dralicianewsome.com. You can also find me on social media, Instagram or YouTube, LinkedIn. Everything's my name, Dr. Alicia Newsome.
That's great. And it is spelled like Alicia or Alicia, but it's Alicia. And
Yes.
I will put those links, multiple links in the show notes. Dr. Alicia, I've really appreciated this conversation. I think
Oh,
everyone listening is going to get something out of this. Make some really easy changes that will have a really big impact. And then if they really want to go big, get a hold of you, go through your assessment, do your
yeah.
framework and change your life. So Dr. Alicia, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Uncopyable Women in Business. If you enjoyed it, please follow, rate, and review the show. And be sure to visit beuncopyable.com/K. Always remember, be uncopyable.